Yeah, it's red panty now.
Advice? What do you say? Don't drink. Don't sleep with women. Don't drive fast cars. Don't go out after 11 o'clock. But I wouldn't ever dream of telling him that, because I happen to think he's a very, very good player. And how can I give advice to people after what I've done? I just hope that he's not destroyed by the press. I think he's a very, very talented player who possibly could be hurt by the media, and I hope he's not. I mean, but no advice. I hope he enjoys his football as much as I did.
He was a guy who played on intuition. And I tell you something I've kind of noticed. You get deeper into the esoteric side of this. There is no such thing as time. There is our perception of time, and there's the way we process sequences of events. So Einstein sussed this a long time ago, that time is an illusion. That if, as he said, was the effect of, if you are in the company of a beautiful woman, time goes very fast. If you got your finger in a saucepan of water boiling, it goes very, very slowly. And it's actually not time so much as our relationship to time, because if you think about it, there is really only the now moment. Everything happens in this now moment, and that's very difficult for people to get their head around when we are constantly faced with apparently the passage of time. But if you ask, okay, where were you when what you now perceive as the past, where were you when that happened? You were in the now. Where will you be when what you perceive as the future becomes reality? You'll be in the now. The future is a projection and the past is a memory. And the reason I raise this in relation to Gascoigne and people like him is their relationship to time was different to other players. So you keep hearing these things, that guy always seems to have more time than anyone else on the ball, with the ball. And you start to realize they're processing their relationship to time is different. So you've got a big, hairy defender, and he'll have a certain perception of time, and won't appear to have the same amount of time on the ball or with the ball or whatever he does as a Gascoigne or a Best. Or one of these really great players. And it's to do with their relationship to time and the way they process time.
I totally agree with you on that. When I watch Messi, sometimes I think he's operating in a different shutter space to the rest of us.
Absolutely he is. And the thing is, that when you get into the depth of reality, we are observing people because the key common theme of people, footballers, whatever, is that they have what we call a physical body, and therefore at that level, they all appear to be the same. So you look at a football match, and there's 22 players playing, but in terms of their consciousness, in the way that they interact with time, the way they interact with reality in general, they're in different dimensions of perceptual consciousness, and therefore some will seem to have lots of time, and some, they get the ball and immediately
hot potato.
It's their time's gone, they're shut down, and they're not the same players, and it's to do with the way we interact with reality.
Well, it'd be interesting to learn that skill, because if it was a learned skill, then obviously you could make masses of progress, certainly as a footballer with it. I'm conscious of time. I'm the same. I just time, if I'm talking to somebody, I have no concept of it. And being in the now is very much, I haven't even asked you the opening question yet. Sir Alex Ferguson, if he'd signed for Man United, he would have gone a different way in the crossroads. And he, in an interview, he pointed out He actually think it was with Black Gary. You want to come across Black Gary? We call him Black Gary Lineker, because he once claimed that he was racially abused. So we wind him up because he's a bit of a virtue signaller. But I think he done an interview, Gazza, where he said, if it had gone to Man United, well, look what happened at Man United with all his stars. Obviously, Giggs and all, like, none of them behaved themselves. So why would I have been any different? Those kind of talents like a Gascoigne, when they become that famous, I think it's really, really, because as a footballer, as you know, certainly my generation, we had to be almost like monks, drinking, smoking, going out late would show in performance because the physical demands placed on the game and the level of professionalism, that might have been a bygone era. And Teddy McDermott, a good friend of mine.
That was after my era. That's sure.
Well, Teddy McDermott's a good friend of mine. And he said when Liverpool were winning all sorts, he said, we'd be out, Monday, Tuesday, tough session, Tuesday where we'd get the bin bags on. We'd be out on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You'd knuckle down, play Saturday, and then the cycle would begin. He said, and that's where our team chemistry and that was forged. We were out and about, jacking the ladder.
Absolutely. I mean, it's about balance. And
same, Terry McDermott used to say to me, the best players of any generation, we're given that training and nutrition and advice, had been the best players whenever they were born. He genuinely believed that they were the best players at their time, and if you put in all the training that the young players get now and the money the young players get and the good advice in terms of science, nutrition, whatever, that they'd equally be the best players at this generation.
I'm sure they would. I mean, I think Charlton Best would thrive today. Unbelievable. I saw him play quite a few times. He was an extraordinary player, and when you think, I guess to an extent, he would have been helped by the dodgy, muddy pitches because the defenders were, couldn't cope with him. But he was also struggling to keep his feet. But on these pitches, I would love to have seen him play on the way they do now.
Oh, well, especially can't tackle anymore. He'd have been so well protected.
Did you ever see those that documentary about George Best? It was on a long time ago, but you can get it on the internet. The tackles that fella had to cope with was unbelievable. And the other thing about George Best, and he was kind of the big player of my era, of my youth, and then when I went to Coventry.
The fifth Beatle, they called him.
Yeah?
They called him the fifth Beatle. He was that big. Yeah,
fifth Beatle. Yeah. It was like he had an upbringing that was very challenging. But when you are someone who plays on the field where they don't know what you're going to do next because you don't really know what you're going to do next. It's all kind of intuitive and in the second, in the moment. And then when they step across the white line, you expect them to be normal. You're not going to have that. He was a totally unpredictable player. You're not going to have a predictable human being. I was described in that fantastic Manchester United team. I actually played at Old Trafford in that era, in the semi-final of the FA Youth Cup. It was one of the great honours to play at Man United at that time. But I used to call George Best the Ferrari and Bobby Charlton the Rolls Royce. They were completely different players. They're both phenomenal. But Charlton played in an expressive way, yes, but a much more kind of almost establishment way. And so off the pitch, you've got an establishment person basically in Bobby Charlton. And I met Bobby Charlton. I did some things with him at one point, just after his career ended, and he was a lovely guy. I found him a lovely guy. But George Best was a phenomenon. He was a genius working on pure intuition. He was responding all the time to what the defender was doing or trying to trick the defender, and it was all intuition. And you expect the guy to walk across the white line to the dressing room and become a normal bloke. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And we have to understand the individual. You have to understand their upbringing. You have to understand their experience and all their stuff, their attitude to life. and treat them as individuals and not expect them to be, round pegs in square holes.
Well, they're trying to breed that out. Like George there, obviously mercurial talent, maverick of the game. And the line between genius and madness is obviously often very, very close and can be, depending on which way you got out of the bed in the morning, can be. And that's what it looks like, with George, to handle that. No footballer in this country had been that famous, that, given that much access to all the vices of life. And it would have been, really, really difficult, I would imagine, with no, I know he had some at Busby trying to keep it online for him, but
I don't think he took the necessarily the correct line with him. But the other thing about George was the pressure of expectation. I kind of saw that where Best would play and he'd have a tremendous game, but because he hadn't picked the ball up, gone around about 3 people and chipped it over the goalkeeper, it was like, oh, George didn't do much today, did he? Well, actually, he did. But the pressure of expectation, because of the genius that he was, you can't just turn genius on, like a tap. It is what it is, and sometimes you do fantastic things. Sometimes you do brilliant things, but not sensational things, and people are disappointed.
Yeah.
So it's that pressure all the time of expectation of doing more than other players do, but all the frickin' time. And I'm sure that was impacted on him.
Yeah, and also when you think of, as we say, the physicality, people getting jealous of superstars and hanging around with Miss World and everything that George was up to off the pitch, which will have brought a level of kind of resentment from, referees and opposition players. Plus, because of the way the game was then, you get the opportunity to kick 10 bells of shite out of him once the game kicks off.
Yeah.
And, you're asking a mercurial genius-like player to then survive against, potential career-ending tackles every 5 minutes. You look at the game now, kind of Lionel Messi, who I think is the best player of certainly the last generation. He was way more protected by referees and officials than, let's say, even Diego Maradona was, who was a mercurial talent and obviously best in the UK at that time. Will have got nowhere near the protection that is ability and creativity needed.
Yeah, and I think another thing about George, Joe, was a lot of the stuff that happened off the pitch and eventually the drinking. I think if you just psychoanalyzed him, he was trying to escape from something. He was trying to escape from memories, I don't know, but trying to escape from something. And if you look at humanity in general, most people in some way are trying to escape from something. They might do it with sex, they might do it with drink, they might do it with drugs, but it's escaping the perceived reality of their lives. And I think a lot of that would explain why George Best didn't fulfill in longevity.
I've spent a lot of time, Joe, slaying everybody in the company. Backstage, I'm starting fights off everybody. I've ridiculed everyone on the roster. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the